Don't you fancy some bacon? Let's talk about fats. Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Live Healthy, Look Good. As promised, I'm moving on from carbohydrates, from the diet, to fats. This is the more feared nutrient of all. People are only concerned about fats, while we have seen in the previous video that maybe, just maybe, sugars should be another concern. Though, don't get me wrong, there is fat and fat. So there are several types of fat which we're going to explore in my articles on my blog, which by the way is linked down here if you want to go and have a look after you watch this video, or if you're not already on my channel, therefore the article will be up there. It depends. But so people are afraid of fats. Why is that? Probably because unlike carbohydrates, which we have seen they contain per gram 4 kilocalories, or also known as calories for friends, fats contain 9 kilocalories per gram, so it's more than twice of carbohydrates. So you can understand already, if you eat 1 gram of fat, you get as double as many calories, a little bit more, than if you eat something else. Which, you know, it's very easy to lead to having a bigger waistline or just getting fatter, which again may take you to some health issues like type 2 diabetes, like all the heart diseases, or like some kind of cancers as well. But let's not forget that being heavier also means loading more the lower joints, so people can have back pain, hips issues in the joints, knees issues because they're heavier, and this is bad. But also on the other end, fats are vital for our diet. We need fats, and we will find out why we need fats in the next videos. But I will tell you, they are the only ones who can process some vitamins for us, that they are important, because some vitamins are not soluble, so they just melt in fat. And that's one of the many reasons why. So there are unhealthy and healthy fats, like for the carbohydrates. Every single food that we find has something bad and something good. So there are people who can say amazing things about saturated fats, and they may very likely be true, but there are also some other bad things that happen. So that means that you need saturated fats for the good things, but maybe you don't need as many for the bad things that they carry with, you know? So the trick is always balancing correctly things. What do the guidelines say in regards of saturated fat, for instance? The guidelines say that for an adult male, they don't have to be more than 30 grams per day. While for an adult woman, they don't have to be more than 20 grams per day, which is about 10–11%, let's say, of the total intake of calories of the day. But we still need them. So when you see saturated fats, it's not always bad. And as I said in the previous video about carbohydrates, when you go shopping and you see, let's say, yogurt, there is a light version and the fat version. You shouldn't really be afraid of taking the fat version, because you need those fats at the end of the day. And if you don't take them anywhere else, they're welcome from your yogurt. I never buy light products, never. If I eat it or drink it, it is the whole thing with fats and everything. I'm more concerned about the sugars. But what are fats? Fats are the ones that we want to get rid of. So why should we want to eat fat? Because then we need to get rid of them. Well, in a nourished person, they are about 80 to 90% of the energy that this person spends at rest. So we need them. And again, for the vitamins and other reasons that we're going to discuss about. There are 3 types of fats. We will see them better in the next videos, but there are unsaturated, saturated, and I would say transgenic fats, which are the artificially saturated. Generically speaking, it's not always that way. There are transgenic fats that are natural, like the ones that we can find in beef or lamb, but usually the transgenic fats we are talking about are the ones who are hydrogenated, which in other words means that we take unsaturated fat and convert them into saturated with hydrogen. These 3 fats are not all of them very good for us. So I'm going to leave a poll up here, and I would like to know which one you think, there's just one that you really need to get rid of, which one you think it is. I'm going to tell you in the future videos, so I just leave it open for now, but I would like you to just let me know what your thoughts are in these regards. Then, what else can I say about fats? Not much. There are healthy fats like the olive oil. In Italy we call it extra virgin. I have no idea if it's called extra virgin all over the world, but the purest the better, because it means that when it's being processed, no chemical, no heat has been used. So they just been literally squeezing with this mill the olives and got the oil that came out of them. Avocado is another very healthy fat. It also contains a lot of potassium, which is a micronutrient which we are going to discuss about much later in this nutrition playlist that is linked down there again. And surprisingly, I wouldn't say that butter is such a bad fat as long as you moderate the consumption, because it's a saturated mainly fat, which, you know, it's involved in the 30-20 grams according if you are a man or a woman per day. So that's the thing. What else? Oh, the notorious palm oil. That's another thing I want to discuss about. Palm oil is not as bad as people think. To be honest, it's probably better than the coconut oil, which is the trend now, at least, is the best, healthier, saturated fat that you can have. And by the way, you can tell when a fat is saturated or not, unless it's artificially saturated. But anyway, still saturated. I'm going to talk in depth about it, but the only way is room temperature. Is it liquid or solid? If it's solid, it's saturated. If it's liquid, it's unsaturated. Very easy, now you know. So you can tell olive oil probably doesn't have many saturated fats, while obviously butter does. What was I saying? I always keep forgetting things because I like to jump here and there because I don't write a script. That's a problem. But anyway, oh yes, I was talking about the saturated fats, the butter, which isn't very unhealthy in my opinion, as long as you moderate the consumption. So just to say all of these things, they mean that you shouldn't be afraid of fats. They are your friend. You need them. If you prefer, just go for the fatty version of the food that you buy. Above all, if you can read the labels and you can read that the light one has lots of sugars and the non-light version doesn't have as many sugars, because those are probably added sugars, which we have seen are not very healthy because they are refined, so they just come with all the drawbacks of sugars without any benefits, while the entire whole thing with fat and so on and so forth doesn't have those sugars because they don't need to add them. Because one of the peculiarities of fats is exactly that it gives flavor to things, so it makes things tastier, which is why we like to combine sugars and fats. In fact, all the cakes that you can find are a combination of sugars and fats, sugars and fats. And unfortunately, where do you find transgenic fats the most? In the baking industry, because they can say they are not saturated fat because they're technically not saturated fats because they're hydrogenated, though they are saturated, but they're not like butter, which, you know, in some countries, in the labels, it's not mandatory to write the amount of transgenic fats. Therefore, because they're not saturated, they're transgenic, they are just not mentioned and they fall into the fats, making you think that it's just unsaturated, which is a little misleading, and I hope it will change as a rule, so that you know how many transgenic fats you eat, which is one of the reasons why I never buy anything that is processed, above all in the baking industry. I was saying, because they can avoid showing saturated fat, because there are people who are aware of this, they just use these transgenic fats. They behave like saturated fats, which is very useful for the baking industry because they look for some consistency when they produce these doughs or these things. And they help a lot, but they do not appear as saturated fats in the labels. Okay, guys and girls, thank you for watching. I'm looking forward to see what you think about which one is the worst fat. You may have some clues already by the end of this video. In the next video, I'm going to talk about the benefits of fats, or what they are good for. And thank you for watching. Please, if you enjoyed this video, just click the like button here. If you haven't done it yet, just click the subscribe button here, and there is a ring bell icon. If you click on it, you will receive a notification every time I publish a new video. Don't forget to live healthy and look good. Bye!